everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of 10 Minute Tuesday. If you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. And today, I'm so happy I got Mr. Fabricator, Power Query Everything. My guy, Alex Powers, in the building, man. Alex, what's going on, dude?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I've been catching up on a couple of the episodes I've missed out. I'm in presence of so many heavy hitters too. Checking back on Ryan Wade's recording. Absolutely love that dude. So thank you so much for just kind of allowing me 10 minutes today, kind of share a little bit of my story too.
Oh, man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. So you mentioned it. We've done a number of these. So Alex, man, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Alex Powers. I work at Microsoft, senior program manager on the Fabric customer advisory team. For what is this cat thing? We just work with some of our largest enterprise strategic customers as they push our platform to its limits. What are you trying to do? What can we help you learn to do better? And then, of course, just engaging with the community. So absolutely love kind of being a part of this today.
Awesome, man. So Alex, if you don't know, on big social media, big following, all that stuff, he does a lot of great stuff with the community. But we'll dive into that towards the end. I really want to understand your origin story, man. So Alex, what compels you to get into data to begin with?
Oh my gosh, man. So every great origin story starts with a call center and a spreadsheet. For people who know me, I come from an Excel background. Ozdi Du Soleil, he's my absolute amazing idol out there in the community. He is who he is. He has a spirit and a personality that just resonated with me to be be whatever you want. Eventually, you'll find an audience, you'll find friends, people who love, hearing your songs, the way that you like singing them or the way that you like playing them. So to dial that back, I worked in a industrial chain factory for 3 years after high school. So cutting, you could imagine as small as bike chain all the way up to 1,400 pounds agricultural chains. It's grinding, hammering, all the fun stuff. But at a certain point, I was hey, I think my brain is smarter than my back is strong. So I was how do I get a job? In a corporate, give me a cubicle, sign me up. A lot of that led to a call center though. And then just starting to track data and do a spreadsheet. One day a guy says, hey, I'm going out on vacation for my honeymoon. I need someone to take over this KPI report. And I'm I don't even know what KPIs are. But at that point, it's hey, you're now starting to do business analytics and kind of just from there, man. It's been a journey and I've absolutely loved it.
Awesome, man. That's crazy. That's awesome to hear. I always love to hear how people got their start into it. So from construction to, where you're at now, that's really fantastic. So thinking about that, right? We mentioned the journey. You talked about how you did stuff out of high school and there were probably some jobs that you had that weren't your favorite. So what's been your least favorite job to date? And it doesn't have to necessarily be data related.
Yeah. So this is another fun one, right? When you're in between jobs and you're still young, trying to figure out things that you do or don't some of the best lessons are during those time periods where I'm going to try something and I'm going to absolutely hate it. And, as a Midwest person, you're always the gumption to see something through. The job that I was doing for a temp agency was taking apart an ice hockey arena. So you showed up basically at 8 o'clock at night. I didn't quite realize that the job wasn't over until 4 a.m. So I didn't come with a dinner prepared. I didn't have the snacks. So at that point, you're just ripping up all the ice panels, kind of the glass panels on the sides, putting down wood across all of the boards. The guys who are there full time, they're just sitting on kind of the forklifts, just telling all the young guys and temps, go do this thing as they kick back. And then, at the end of my first day and my first shift, I go, absolutely not. I ain't never done that again. So that's kind of a good lesson for me in the sense of recognize when it's time to change something up. That ain't it. I didn't need, 3 months or 3 years to figure out that I hated that thing. So just something to kind of carry forward. Are you having fun with what you're currently doing? If you're not, what does it look like to kind of change that up?
I love that. That's really great advice, that knowing when it's time. So I think I have a follow-up question to that. Has that internal awareness, whether it's your job or surroundings or scenarios, has that gotten better as you progress in your career?
You notice the signals earlier, for sure. Yes. Yeah. And again, that just comes with time. I spent 10 years in corporate America, kind of before a layoff. So just, what do they call it? The restructuring and, mass job layoffs and things like that. it wasn't anything that I did. It wasn't anything that I could control. It was just circumstances there. But in that sense, it was like, now that I'm out in the job market, the next thing I'm trying, like, oh my gosh, I noticed this sooner. The next thing you kind of notice it sooner. And then after a while, you kind of pick up those patterns. Um, Always hopeful that like, hey, we can turn this around. But you kind of also recognize when efforts, like maybe it's cultural, maybe it's managerial, like whatever it is, just things that are outside of your control. But that's why I love data analytics, right? Like I remember looking at Power BI when it was like one job posted every 3 months. Now it's like you could get on anywhere. And it's like, does anyone have this entire list of skills right now? So it's a lot of fun to just like look at it through that lens. Like data and analytics is like amazing to be in right now. And I think that we're all eating good in terms of, hey, if you're using Power BI, you're using Tableau, you're using Azure, you're using GCP, like it doesn't matter. Like as long as we can all get a piece of the pie, I love it. So
yeah, I love it. We're definitely eating good. It's a great industry to be in with experience Absolutely. As well. What's always funny, you brought up a good point about Power BI. I always crack up when I see like LinkedIn, like jobs or posts or whatever, and they're like 20 years of Power BI experience required. Like, come on, man. The tool hasn't been out that long.
I always enjoyed when they listed like the all the business intelligence descriptions and like the tools and the job title. And then you like get through the interview phase or you talk to the recruiter and like, well, which one are you using? They're like, oh yeah, we're just using like business objects in Office 2010. And you're like, all right, like you get very good at interviewing the job that you're interviewing for. So don't ever feel bad for asking them questions like what tools, what does my laptop setup look like? What licensing do I kind of have access to on day one? I got very good at asking those questions.
Nice. So thinking about your journey, again, we're thinking about, the ups and downs, like, again, Alex Powers, community, power queer, everything. But at a certain point, you had to get there. And I'm sure you had your bumps and bruises. So what is your biggest failure, quotation marks around failure, and what did you learn from that lesson?
Staying at a job too long. So this goes back to kind of that layoff scenario. Hey, I was very comfortable. I was doing what I was doing. I was getting my percentages, kind of at the end of every year. But whenever that thing was over and they said, hey, Alex, it's time to get off the ride. Got on the job market, had a new job in 4 days, almost like 20% more in terms of salary. So when I look at that and like even the time period from, hey, when I left that job to now, it's like I've doubled my salary. So being comfortable was like, man, I wish I had like a little bit more understanding and awareness back then to be like, it's okay to take a risk in your early years. As things like start piling up, hey, you've got a mortgage, you've got a family, like you need to be a lot more calculated. But oh my goodness, like it's okay.
Yeah.
To like look around and see what's out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big ocean out here. A lot of opportunity out here. All right. So Alex, some of my audience are people who are either pivoting into tech or they're just starting out. So what is one piece of advice you give someone who's just starting out in their career?
My gosh. All right. Looking directly at the camera at you right now, listener, what is your LinkedIn address? Can you name it off the top of your head? Does it have like 20 extra GUIDs at the very end? What is your Twitter profile handle? Are they consistent across platforms? I would be like, these are very basic questions that you should be able to answer like right now. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, it's like very funny and humorous. Like my description and bio is, I torture my wife and cats with the sound of keystrokes. Like, having fun there. If you look at like my achievements at the very bottom, there's spelling bee champion in 4th grade with the word bleachers. Like, I didn't do that overnight. That was all incrementally done over time to like, what can I tweak? What can I change a little bit? Nobody sees the big bang. Like, you're an overnight sensation. We hear this all the time in like music and all these other platforms. Absolutely not. We're all incrementally taking the steps to get to where we want to be. I do a lot in community, a lot of things early on, like for engagement, I paid my way. Like, hey, if I wanted to go to a conference and speak in Orlando, I was paying the airfare. I invested to get to where I wanted to be. Sometimes it's monetarily. Hey, I'm going to give you $500 right now for a plane flight certificate, for like a technology badge. But man, if I gave you 500 and you gave me back 10,000 of a raise, how would you feel about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a moment in time investment, but my goodness, like what can you build towards? That's like my big advice for folks. Again, like you have to weigh your circumstances. I don't want you to like fly across the ocean to like a 60-minute session if it doesn't make financial sense for you. But look around. Like, is there a local community? Is there something within a driving distance? I was just down there hanging out with you in Nashville at Datatune, and oh my God, like had so much fun. But it's like, how do I get back there? Like,
Yeah.
how do I keep coming back? Because that builds your brand. If people know you, they know your name. They're like, oh my gosh, the last time I sat in their session, I had so much fun. And I walked away and, we connected on LinkedIn. Make an impression on people. Like
Mhm.
that is my big advice. But it's not an overnight sensation. It takes incremental work to get there. You're not going to keynote the first big conference tomorrow. Start small, one step at a time. You'll see it happen over time, though.
Man, that is great. You have so many gems in that one, and a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily talk about, especially when you're like call it imposter syndrome. You're scrolling LinkedIn or whatever, right? You see all the highlights and everything, which is why I started this podcast because no one
Yeah.
talks about the incremental
Yeah.
consistency that is required to get to where you're at. And I really love when you said invest in yourself because that's another thing that people either don't think about or they don't or what have or it's just not spoken about. Like I
Yeah.
think we both are product of it of putting our money in things that we care about. Like and if it's the craft, like that's fine. Like we'll spend 500 or 1,000 or whatever it is to get to wherever it is because that's a valuable thing long term
Yeah.
for me, my brand, my craft, whatever it is, right? But that investment is worth it. And
Yeah.
you more times than not you always get it back some way, somehow.
Yeah. And I always like to kind of impart on people. People like to invest in people who invest in themselves.
Yeah.
So if I see that you're trying to get somewhere, oh my goodness, like how can I lift you up? Again, like I want us to all eat good. There's no reason all these companies are making billions and trillions of dollars and we can't have a small slice of that pie. How do I help you?
Yeah.
If you're in a different technology and you're asking me questions, oh my goodness, that's still fine. Like, how can we help each other? That's why I absolutely love just like hanging out on Reddit, hanging out on Twitter, hanging out on LinkedIn. Like, what is our industry as a whole doing? And then like, how do we hopefully like guide our own career paths to kind of, be aligned to like the current emerging things, not necessarily like, here's the thing that was cool 15 years ago. I don't think anyone wants to get locked in those positions either.
No, not at all. All right, so moving to the next question. So tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Yeah. So definitely kind of mom here for this one. Like she always made sure we had a computer in the house. So at a young age, having like a Windows 3.1 machine and like you're trying to like figure out some command line stuff. And then she's like hearing about the internet. She's like, well, let's just get the internet. And then you're like way too young to understand like this is a revolutionary thing, but like you're having fun in chat rooms of like Yahoo chat and all this other crazy stuff back in the day. Uh, that was always like greatly appreciated her for doing that. She never was like, go be a tech person. Like we still went outside. I'm still a bass player. I love playing music. Like, but it was always around. If I wanted to spend time with it, to kind of like go back even further. I remember when I was very young watching my dad and my uncle in my grandpa's basement, holding a book that was like this big. Like think of the tomb, like just massive, like 400 pounds. It felt like. Uh, They were on Excel 4.0 on a Macintosh, trying to
Wow.
figure out how to write formulas. And I'm a young kid and I'm amazed at this. And like, it's left an impression in me to be like, how are these two grown men having this much excitement, like hovering over a computer, learning how to write a formula? Um, it's that energy where I'm just like, how do I recreate that for all these other people who are like, I don't know about tech. It's kind of a dirty word maybe to be like nerdy about this thing. Absolutely not. Like you can have fun. Like it's engaging. I think we all enjoy having memes or inside jokes about things that work well or things that don't work well. And we're all like, oh God, we're all sharing in this, shared pain. So like, that's why I try and bring as much like edutainment as I call it to a lot of things that I do. How do I make it educational? How do I also make it entertaining? Ozdi du Soleil, again, I'll come back to him. Like He's a strange cat, man. Absolutely love him. But for anyone that goes out and watches his stuff, like amazing. But he's himself.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a dry, I can't make a funny joke. Go for it. Like we would love to have more personalities in our community. But that would kind of be that advice. And again, just like coming back to mom always had a computer there. And then dad was always technically curious too. So it all kind of worked out.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So you have twofold, right? You have the resources with the computer, and then you have the curiosity, which you still carry today, right? With those two, you're a powerful person, man. Shout out to mom and dad, man. Y'all are great.
Heck yeah.
Big shout out. All right, Alex, where can listeners find you at online?
Yes, please hunt me down. LinkedIn.com/in/Alex M. Powers, I think, unless they dropped the in recently. So hunt me down there, Alex M. Powers. Just type in Alex Powers. On Twitter, you can find me at Not About the Sell. You can find me on the internet on my blog. It's notaboutthesell.com. I'm on Blue Sky. I have no idea how to find me on there. Just like look me up. I'm still figuring it out. And then please on Reddit, join us on reddit.com/r-powerbi or r/Microsoft Fabric. We're the largest business intelligence community for Power BI with over 125,000 people now. And then we're growing within Microsoft Fabric, approaching about 5,000 at the moment.
Whoa, really? Wow. So I should post this episode on the Reddit, basically.
Please do.
Okay.
Because they would love to hear the shout out. But that's my community. That's where I love hanging out. So please get engaged. You'll see my name starting to come through those different channels. But just let me know. Hey, I found you on 10 Minute Tuesday. I loved your advice. I hated your advice. Whatever it may be. Just let me know that you're out there. And then whatever I can do to help get you to kind of the next place that you want to go to. Absolutely would love to do that.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, Alex. This was great, man. I appreciate it. It's always fun catching up with you too. So get it on actual recording is awesome. So, man, this is great.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, no problem. And thank you so much. Like I said in the beginning, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all have a great day.